Hey, everybody. Let's see if this thing done started. Yep, it started. Look here. Hey, everybody. How you doing? I know I haven't been here for a minute, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I sometimes, like I say, I'd like to get on and try to encourage people. And one of the things I want to encourage you is getting to understanding ourselves. I don't believe that you can really get to know who you are without God. Um, One of the books that I've read is What on Earth Are We Here For? And there's so much confusion and so many struggles going on in the land and just in different places, and just trying to figure out who we are or what our place is in life. A lot of times people, even growing up, so you can be anything you want to be and just different things of that nature. But the reality is that you can't think of yourself more highly than you ought to think, but you don't need to think of yourself less than anyone else. And we get these images and different things in our minds from looking at things, and we get disencouraged. But we have to learn how to utilize the things or the skills that we have. And I don't care who you are, you have some kind of skill. A lot of times we don't know how to utilize those skills, but in order to explore or learn how to utilize those skills, we have to evaluate. But people talk about self-made man, self-made woman, and different things of that nature, and that's okay, if that's what you believe. But I believe that every good and perfect thing comes from above. And if you get your goodness, if you get determination, if you get joy, if you have, one person have more determination than another, and you can go and tell this other person, oh, you can do this, and give them all of that information, but yet and still they can't seem to take that information and utilize it. So understanding where you are, understand your limitations, but yet and still, when you understand your limitations, don't necessarily put a limit on yourself. You have to stay grounded in reality. Like me, I'm 54. There's a very slim possibilities I've ever been in the NBA superstar, as far as basketball, even if I could play or was skilled. Because certain things in certain areas are required, and that we set the limits on, that we are there. So to learn how to reevaluate who I am and know who I am from a perspective of God made me. I want to encourage you that you are fearfully and you are excellently made. It's easy to get disencouraged. It's easy to get down on yourself and different things of that nature, but we have to learn how to forgive ourselves and keep moving. Anybody that hadn't made a mistake, I promise you, they're dead. Anybody that never makes a mistake, and I'm not talking about dead, like they said nothing mess with a dead man. I mean, if you don't make mistakes or haven't made some mistakes, it's you are dead. So my point is that I don't care who you are, you're gonna make some mistakes, but you have to learn how to be all right with that. You don't do, especially if you don't do it on purpose, not maliciously, doing what you're doing. But the most important things is that you learn from the mistakes that you make. Understanding yourself is part of that. Even as I get older, I used to run 2 miles in the morning and 2 miles at night. And there are people that are older that do these exercise routines and different things of that nature, and really good at it, even on in upper age. But regardless of how old you get or how long you live, sooner or later things come to an end. And sometimes people can still do things because they haven't ran into the obstacles that you've ran into. So when you're dealing with something, and I'm not making an excuse, but maybe you've ran into some obstacles that was out of your control. Maybe you was in an accident. Maybe you lost a foot, or whatever the case may be, or something that was out of your control. But just because you have limitations as far as comparing to somebody else, and don't compare yourself to somebody else, does not make you less of a person. People sometimes feel like they're less of a person because of the things they can accomplish or haven't accomplished. Maybe you weren't the best father, but did you do the best you possibly could? Maybe you weren't the best mother, but did you do the best you possibly could with the knowledge you have? And if we even go back and could sit down and talk to our parents, sometimes they say, man, I did this, or I learned this, and different things of that nature. But as we progress, our mind changes. But the important things is if you're doing the best that you can and appreciating what you have. Oftentimes, if you've heard me speak or heard me talk, there's somebody sitting around wishing for your situation, wishing for the thing that you're complaining about. if you have a roof over your head, and just find a way, or find something to be grateful for, just to keep your mind up. People, man, with this pandemic and all of the stuff that's going on, man, people leaving here left and right, and they're taking out folks left and right. But it's what's going on in the mind and how we process information. What you feed your mind on a regular basis affects you, even if it doesn't seem like it affects you in the moment. If you eat them in the M&M, and they've got all of these M&Ms in the package, it does something to your body. Now, it may not be significant to the point that it runs your sugar up if you happen to have sugar or go a certain direction. But if you keep eating them, it's going to affect your body. And see, sometimes we neglect the small things that makes a major difference. The interesting thing about a drop of water is that when it's joined by a whole lot more drops of water on a regular basis, that thing's going to get heavier and going to get heavier, and then it'll get heavier faster than it can evaporate. So we have to be conscious of what we allow into our minds and our hearts. We allow things in without thinking. Even going down the road, we see certain things, and we get things off Facebook and Instagram, and some of the things can seem so innocent, but they can have such a profound effect on your mind and your thought processes, till things are working in the back of your mind and you don't realize why you're making the choices that you're making. But if you're making the choices, they come from somewhere. They say every action, a thought precedes every action. Even if you don't know what that thought was, if you did something or said something, there was a reason why. Sometimes you can put your hand on it, sometimes you can't. So understand how you think and how you feel about some things. And if you're making choices that you don't like, check out what you've been feeding yourself, what you've been allowing in. It may be some friends. It may be something that you're reading. It may be your job. And you may not be able to change your job, but you can change how you see your job. The interesting thing about this, and I often say, I talk about God, God, help me to guard my mind and my ears. And even if something comes in, let me process it in a positive way. Even if I'm never a millionaire, many times we're trying to become millionaires and all these other things, and that's okay. If you have the mindset, but there's a whole lot of millionaires that are not happy. It doesn't matter how much money you get, it's not going to stop life. Now, if you've got money, you can live in a certain neighborhood and it can shield you from certain things to a certain degree, but it does not stop life. You've got rich people committing suicide, just like you've got poor people committing suicide. You've got rich people committing murder, just like you got poor people committing murder. You've got rich people cheating and stealing, just like you've got poor people cheating and stealing. So understand the principle that we're fighting. It's not the things that are on the outside, but it's the thing that's going on in our head. And if we can change the things that's going on in our head, man, it can really make a difference. And sometimes you're preaching to the choir. Look, we know this, but then at what point are we actually making an effort to change? I'm going to share this with you. Getting up in the morning, sometimes it's hard to get up in the morning. But if the alarm goes off, or you decide to get up and you go ahead and just get up without thinking about it, sometimes you'll be up and you're gone before you know it. Because even when you're taking your time to get up in the morning, if you prolong it, it's just, when you get up, you still gonna have to go through whatever it is you've got to go through. You just prolonged it. So there's a book that I read. It's called The 5-Second Rule. And basically what it does is it says count down from 5, and make up your mind when you get to 1, you're going to move. And it seems so simple, but it'll actually work if you've got your 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and just move without thinking about it. But if you give it too much thought, you only end up laying there another half an hour, another 2 hours, or procrastinating on whatever it is that you're procrastinating on. But if you can get your mind in a set that when it counts down to this number, I'm moving, you'd be surprised at what you accomplish and the steps that you'll take. But you have to understand yourself. Many times we know the things that we like, but we don't really even know all the things that motivate us. And we don't know the things that disencourage us sometimes until we run into it. It's easy to make a judgment call based on what you see about somebody else. And I oftentimes say, I'm trying to see how I phrase it. It's easy to be disillusioned when somebody else's situation is not your reality. I can talk about somebody that's raised in a rich house, or somebody that's raised in the ghetto, or somebody that's raised under the bridge, and I can criticize whether somebody has money or whether somebody doesn't have money. But it's easy to be critical or criticize something that's have a situation that is not your reality, and you can make excuses. But until you experience some things, especially like they say, walk a mile in another man's shoes or another woman's shoes or whatever it may be, and then doing that for a mile still is not going to get you all of it, but it can give you a glimpse of somebody else's thought processes, or why they feel the way they feel, or why they do the things that they do. Not to make an excuse, but I said that to say this: we living in our own shoes, or do who we are, we do every day. But a lot of times we don't even understand, why do I make this decision, or why did I do this like this? This is why it's so important, as far as I'm concerned, to go after God. And oftentimes I ask God, let me think the way you think, see things the way you see things, feel about things the way you feel about things. And when you get to that and realize that there is a higher power, we give everything credit but the creator. And I even have a friend, or some friends that have studied different religions. Now they believe in God, but as far as the religions and just different things of that nature, if you never really get to know God, it doesn't matter what you do religiously. It doesn't change who you are. But if you really get to know God, God will help you understand yourself. Lord, why do I do this way? Why do I feel this way? And more importantly, he'll teach you how to change. I realize that some of us deal with things in our bodies, deal with hurts, deal with things that are out of control. Some people have sugar, some people have diabetes, and all kinds of other diseases, and situations and circumstances. I even have some things going on in my body. But you have to get to the point. Look here, don't let what's going on in your body stop you. Now, you try to work towards getting those things better, try to get the things that are going on and see what's going on with you. Go to the doctor or exercise. And sometimes sometimes we just simply need to change our mindset. You'd be surprised at how much better you'd feel dealing with what you're dealing with if you can just change the way you think about or see whatever situation you're in. But I just wanted to encourage you to get to understand yourself. Just because you know that I know I'm Daniel Palmer. You may know you're Mary, John, Bob, whoever you are. But just because you know your name don't mean you really understand yourself. You have to take a minute. There's a saying on my wall over here, and it's a picture, of Snoopy drinking a cup of coffee, and it says something about take a drink of coffee, put on some worship music, and just be all right. Sometimes even in that, sometimes you just have to put on something positive, some worship music, something that's going to feed your mind and feed your heart and make you feel better. You may not be able to have the steak or go out and have lobster every week, but you can find a way to enjoy what's in front of you, because there are people on the street that eating out of canned beans out of a can and different things of that nature. Some of them got mind problems. Some of them just done ran into situations, and with this pandemic and different things of that nature, that's a whole lot of other stuff going on. But I'll say this, and I'll be done. Be careful what you're complaining about, because somebody is sitting around wishing for the situation that you're complaining about. And if you're constantly being ungrateful, man, you may find yourself in a situation worse than you already are. But anyway, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to pray for you. Like I say, I just wanted to encourage somebody. I'm going to try. I keep saying I'm going to do it more often, but I feel better, even when I encourage you, it just encourages me. But I'm going to pray for you, and I'm going to pray for whoever you're connected to. And God is the answer. He'll help you through it. I don't care what it is. If you believe that Jesus Christ was raised from the dead, everything else is on this side of death. If you woke up this morning, you got something to be grateful for. You woke up this morning. I believe God woke you up so he could bless you, so he can strengthen your heart and your mind. But you got to meet the enemy at the door, because as soon as you wake up, life is going to hit you in your face. That's just the reality of the world that we live in. So you're not going to get out of it. You're not going to get out of life alive. It's just not going to happen. But while you're dealing with what you're dealing with, you can be better about what you're dealing with. Make up in your minds, I don't know what went on today, but I'm going to have a better day tomorrow. I'll deal with what I got to deal with then. But let it go. Don't give no thought for tomorrow. For tomorrow is sufficient. Tomorrow shall take care of the things of itself. Sufficient unto the day is the evil thereof. So deal with what you got to deal with today. And if you do what you can do right today, it'll add to whatever comes to tomorrow. But if you mess up today, whatever you do today can help your tomorrow. If you are here tomorrow, but you've got to do the best you can with what you have. And know this, that you are fearfully and you are excellently made. And regardless of what anybody else thinks about you, you have to get that in your own head. You may not be the tallest, you may not be the shortest, you may not be the brightest, and that doesn't even matter. You're still special within your own right. And oftentimes I pray this prayer: God, help me to love me the way you love me. Help me to love people the way you love people. Help me to see me the way that you see me. And if you believe that God made you, God doesn't look at you and says disgust. Even if you've messed up or not, God looks at you and think about your children you love. Sometimes they mess up in different things, but if you really love them, you hate maybe their situation, but you still love that person. So, we have to understand ourselves and we have to learn to love ourselves. I'm not talking about put ourselves before everybody else and all this other kind of stuff, because, somebody said we serve God by serving humanity. And you'd be surprised at how much better you will feel if you just honestly help somebody else without a hidden agenda. You got what I'm saying? And I mean, it's just the nature of people, the thing that will help you. But anyway, let's go back this way and I'm going to pray. Father God, in the name of Jesus, we want to thank you for another beautiful day. We ask you to bless everybody we're connected to, everybody that's connected to us. God, we don't know how to pray like we ought to, but we know since you woke us up this morning, you woke us up so you could bless us. So we didn't bring anything to the altar, but we decided to bring everything to the altar. We come with our hearts as humbly and as honestly as we know how. God, if we could have fixed it, we'd have fixed it already. But since we haven't fixed it and we don't know how, we know how to come to the altar and we know where our help comes from. So God, we believe that you're on the case. We believe that you're working it out. We're touching and agreeing. We decree it to be so. We don't come because we're worthy. We don't come because we got it together. But at the end of the day, we know it's by your grace and by your mercy. God, give us peace of mind and help us walk the way you'd have us to walk. You all hit, I guess they say, subscribe and share. Like I say, you'd be surprised at what you've been telling somebody else, but somebody else will get something that you send them and they hear somebody else before they hear you. So you may have planted the seed. Somebody else may have watered it, but sooner or later, God will give the increase. So be encouraged, love each other, do the best that you can. You don't have but one life. You don't have but one life to live. Live it to the best of your ability. And at the end of the day, trust God. That's my 2 cents. God bless you. And we'll talk back. Y'all take care.